3, 2, 1. In a world where danger lurks in the shadows, where the line between heroes and villains is blurred, a team of extraordinary individuals is about to embark on a mission that will defy the odds. Meet the Deans, a group of the best in the business, each with a particular set of skills that makes them unstoppable. They may be strangers, but when the world is in peril, they come together as one. Get ready for the ultimate adrenaline rush as they take on the impossible.
What is equity? It can be defined as measures to enact equality, as well as a lens by which we see people finally for their strong points. For learning environments, it can mean finding the funding, exercising choice, asking teachers for practical help, and for many, creating the solutions that don't yet exist. Today, we're going to talk about strengths and strategies, learning phases, and learning places toward the equity we strive to achieve. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of hosts or sponsors or Right Proof Foundation. This information is not intended to replace therapeutic or medical advice. This session is being recorded and we are live on Facebook. Today, we're joined by an innovative, amazing, world-changing panel.
Absolutely, Steve. And I'm going to go ahead and read the introductions of this panel. I'm so excited to have them here. So let's start with Ruby Taylor. Ruby Sunshine Taylor is the author of The Unconventional CEO, How to Build Wealth and Joy in the Face of Adversity. She's the CEO and founder of Financial Joy School, a virtual educational platform and gaming company that provides diverse financial education and investment tools to Black and Brown youth and their families. Welcome, Ruby.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Then we have Jamila Hassani. Jamila Hassani, social economy advocate and islander from the French island called Mayotte, where social economy experimentation has been led to generate social change and open the island to the world. USA, we're talking about USA, Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, Greenland, Aruba, Belgium, South Africa. Welcome, Jamila.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Hi, everyone.
And we have Denisha Allen. Denisha Allen is a senior fellow at the American Federation for Children and founder of Black Minds Matter. Denisha previously served as the school choice and youth liaison to the Secretary of Education at the U.S. Department of Education and is an outspoken advocate for change in schools. Welcome, Denisha.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
What an outstanding panel we have. My name is Stephen King, and I am the host of the Dean Talks. Let's open up the discussion with a video snippet to set the stage for the panel to join and react.
I would like to become a pediatric physical therapist so I can help kids.
I want to apply to UCLA and major in psychology.
I want to be an entrepreneur and start my own clothing brand.
I'm hoping to go to a four-year college and major in architecture.
I want to be an animator.
I want to practice law. I want to help either in civil law or immigration law because those are the things that I see that are needed in my community to move forward.
So being equity therefore requires an equity mindset teacher, an equity mindset leader, an equity mindset educator. But someone may ask the question, but what does that mean to have an equity mindset? I'm glad you asked, because I got a long definition. Y'all might want to take a picture of this screen. I said an equity mindset teacher is a teacher who utilizes a variety of developmentally appropriate instructional strategies that consider the differing academic, social, and emotional needs of each of the learners.
School is doing emergency remote teaching, and that's what I've been calling it, because this is not virtual learning, this is not remote learning. It's something totally different through this time, and really the connection that we actually have to our students is more valuable in the work that we're doing right now, because many of them are going through things that we couldn't even understand in their homes. There are so many barriers that we have with families and what we're doing. So how we actually center the work in relationships is really crucial, that students actually want to join us in this type of learning where they actually have options right now.
Adelante, umbral de español, busquen su nombre con su palito, muchas gracias.
There are no blank slates walking into the classroom. Culturally responsive teaching is capitalizing on all that students bring with them from their personal lives and their home lives. And it's really knowing that student, knowing where he or she is from, and using that to craft the most meaningful and rigorous learning opportunities.
Nice job! So the impact of differentiation, the students feel successful. They feel supported. They know if something is difficult for them, there's something that's a little more in line with their strengths coming up soon. So it really makes education fun and approachable. I really think it's the most effective way that I have seen to teach. So how the differentiation looks in my classroom, we start off with a whole group lesson. So let's get our reading glasses on. Let's get the letter part of our brains activated. They're with
apostrophe.
Yes, Karen. And then we break off into our small groups. So our yellow group is still learning how to do a lot of our literacy things. The green group is doing pretty well, but has a few things to work on still. And our blue group is hitting all the first grade standards and needs to be stretched.
Our critical consciousness, according to Paulo Freire and Pedagogy of the Oppressed, is really the ability to perceive social, economic, and political oppression and to take action against it. I think about a toy that I had as a child. It was a kaleidoscope, and I would look through it and see the colors and shapes shifting and twisting. And when I look through that and I understand stories, I bring all of what I know about the world to that story. When I share my story, do you filter my story through your kaleidoscope? And if you do, if your kaleidoscope is devoid of a systemic analysis, then do we come out where we need to be in terms of moving forward in equity? Or do you just have a story now that in your mind is the one-off, maybe the anomaly, or maybe keeps you comfortable?
What is your personal definition of equity? And that's kind of a broad question to the panel. And I'm not talking about the one that we use in theory or in an elevator pitch to someone who's never considered the term, but can we refine the workable definition that we need to adopt to actually achieve equity?
So to me, equity means it's like Burger King, have it your way, right? It has to be individualized, giving the person what they need to succeed. And so that can look like a host of things, but like it is making sure people's culture, race, gender, sexuality is seen, heard, and given and opportunity to succeed just like everyone else. But it has to be customized. And so that's my like definition. Have it your way, and to make you successful. I am a stutterer. So if you hear me stuttering, say the word so that I can stop stuttering and move on to the next one. So I would greatly appreciate that help.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ruby. To me, equity means freedom. Freedom in all aspects. We allow for students to learn in environments that are conducive for them for learning. We allow parents to choose those environments. We allow teachers to choose those environments and create those innovative opportunities for students, and we don't let anything hold them back. And most of the time, I think that what limits us from achieving true equity is money. And so it's really to say that, we don't allow anything, especially money, to limit students from achieving equity. And to me, it means freedom. And I think that that could be, of course, we are having conversations across the country all the time about equity because folks who have true freedom, they don't have to worry about conversations of equity, and they get nervous when we're talking about equity because they don't want to relinquish their control and their power and give freedom and autonomy to everyone. And so I think it means freedom. To me, it means freedom.
Well, I guess now it's my take on it. I didn't know about the Burger King example, so I'm really learning. So thank you so much, Ruby, about that. And I really like the fact that you were talking about freedom, because I think these two aspects are really connected to each other. To me, I'm gonna talk about it more from an organizational level, but it's about organizing spaces or educational spaces that is able to integrate and include everyone regardless of their ability. So there is sometimes a lot of mixed elements between equity, which is often misunderstood by equality, which are two things that are totally different. But I guess equity to me would mean being inclusive and being able to adapt to a person's reality or situation. And at an organizational level, it would be about creating spaces that are adapting to these needs.
I couldn't agree more with the assessment of this distinguished panel. And the interesting thing about this is that we have a definition. We have one question, which is what is the definition of equity? And then that definition runs through the filter of each one of our panelists, has its own twists and turns, and is driven by their own life experiences, which makes it a unique question for everyone. And that leans into what it is that defines our mission at the Dean Talks, is to spark conversation. And no person can identify what is right conversation, what is wrong conversation. It's all about jumping in there and swimming through the conversation together and looking to solve these world problems. Let's start by looking at the universal approaches to solving this wicked problem of implementing equitable solutions for social justice. Jamila, you've seen success in efforts that challenge some Western ideals. How have you seen equity and economics come together against opposition?
Well, that's a very good question. And usually equity and economics seems not to go so well together. And I was very happy to find out that it can actually work together. And for that, I will talk about what we call in a French framework, social economy. But before I start, I think it's important to reframe my speech because I suppose that not everyone is aware that there are some French and European territories across the globe, particularly across 3 oceans. And these territories are benefiting from the same legal system as France, yet the reality on the ground is often different than what we can find in the mainland. And I mean that in terms of development, in terms of access to education. And we could say that equity is not something that's always around the table, if I can put it that way. Yet we have experimented an opportunity in such a specific context of one island, which is the island where I am from, Mayotte, which is about social economy. It was about creating reconciliation between economics and equity and bringing peace and a solution to bring back dignity and restore equity in a space that has a very strong tradition of social economy and creating equity, having that community-led organization type of doing things, but then it was not really the case now. And indeed, overseas regions, as we call them, are benefiting from the law of social economy. And when we talk about social economy in a French framework, it's about association, cooperatives, foundations, which are pursuing an environmental or social endeavor. That's what we are talking about. And this way of doing business has actually always existed through a very strong tradition in French regions, and represent a true way on how you can connect equity with economics, if I can put it that way. And these organizations, some of them have really managed to make it work by generating jobs, as well as educational organizations that are doing well financially to pursue their social goals or environmental goals, as well as creating community that's more centered around equity and creating new relationships as well with the French government, if I can put it that way. And even if there's still a very long way to go to be able to generate more value, to be more transparent with you, I can say that we're starting to change the paradigm of equity into something that's more concrete and more tangible and accessible to all. And I think that's very important because people need to feel it in their daily lives. You know, it's not something that we just talk about. You have to feel it. And who does not want to live actually in an inclusive environment? And the fact that it's working is just that I'm being able to share the panel here with you. If we were not able to work in social economy, maybe I wouldn't be integrated into these spaces. So this is like one example of the way it works. I do not want to take more time, but in a nutshell, yeah.
That was excellent, and not to again take too much time either, but I'm always saying that we're connecting through the internet, and that was just a very succinct, definable exhibition of that. I mean, it's really great, and I don't want to jump in. We still have some more panel members to hear from with this question about economics and equity.
Yeah, I guess I'll hop in. So when it comes to the opposition around equity and economics, I think when it comes to school choice, which is the topic that I'm speaking on, is there is a lot of opposition around the success of the program. There's a lot of propaganda that's around, a lot of myths, and with anything that is good and beneficial, especially to minority communities, there's always a lot of propaganda and myth busting that you have to do, especially at the community and local level. It seems like that's the first place where we have to start when we're like trying to change policies, because our communities have been fed a certain narrative, and we have to first go in and change those narratives and then lead them down a better path. And so with school choice, it really is, in my opinion, the best way to achieve equity in education, because it gives parents the opportunity to choose schools that work best for their kid. And then not only that, but with my work of Black Minds Matter, we have the only directory of Black founded schools. And so on our directory, we've been able to find over 500 schools. That's the only ones we've been able to find. I'm sure there are more than that out there. And these are folks who have started learning environments because they want to create better learning environments for students, and mostly for Black students. We did a survey. Most of them worked in traditional schools, and they found that they hit a ceiling, that there was only but so much that they could do for kids, and they wanted freedom. They wanted to be able to customize and have autonomy. And they went down these paths of creating private schools, charter schools, home schools, virtual schools, financial education schools, which I'm like, I need to add you, Ruby, to the director. I don't think we have your program out there. And so we have like these folks who are, you know, pushing against the status quo, people who are pushing against what people are telling them that programs are supposed to be doing and how it might be detrimental, and they're taking it on and they are being empowered. And so, yeah, I think that there is a lot of there are a lot of oppositions, but then on that is like, we have to find what the true successes look like and make sure we tell those stories, because we control our own narratives, and that's something that I think is the majority of our work, is just putting out better narratives, putting out success stories, putting out how this works, because that's the number one thing that we're kind of working against when it comes to showing that you know, in creating equitable solutions in education is freedom, is education freedom. And we see it happening, and it's so cool to see.
That was super dope. Super dope.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's so
super
powerful.
dope. I love it. I love it. So like, I'm gonna go ahead and try to come after you. And I really don't want to, but I will do the best that I can. So economic equity. So I think of myself as a financial equalizer, which basically means that I advocate for Black and Brown families to build generational wealth no matter your income, to help us know that you don't have to be rich to leave a financial legacy. How do we push that? We like push that with our legacy card game and our platform, Financial Joy School. We really drive home long-term investing within the stock market, and also like collectibles, art, shoes, sneakers, all of that good stuff you can build generational wealth with. And so we like to, number one, educate people and empower us to basically know that what generational wealth is and what generational poverty is. And like, I like to educate on people because people piss me off a lot. And I try to stay in a peaceful place, but they do piss me off, especially people who really comes from means. I was at South by Southwest in March, and like people want to know, what do you do? So I told a guy what Financial Joy School is all about. And his exact words were, they don't have assets. And I wanted to smack him, but I really couldn't because I don't want a charge, right? Just the total ignorance and the total arrogance had my blood boiling. Number one, an asset it can be anything. It's just not money. It can be a pair of like Jordans that has never ever been worn. That is an asset. Now, generational wealth, I wanted to like tell you that story so that we can both understand generational wealth and like generational poverty. So like generational wealth is passing on an asset to one generation to the next with the education to grow that asset. Generational poverty is passing on an asset without the education to grow it. That's all it is. And so we live in a day and a time that, like, the stock market has become democratized. What do I mean, right? I mean that you don't need to be rich to basically participate. Anybody can participate today. You don't even need a broker. You can do it yourself without the fees. You can even buy fractional. You can buy fractional shares, which was never ever heard of 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit longer now. But like, it's amazing. $1, you can buy Apple. $2, you can buy Berkshire. You can buy S&P 500 mutual fund. And so, like, economic equity is like taking down the barriers so that everybody can participate. And like, that is what has happened within the stock market. And so that's why we really push hard long-term investing and generational wealth building, so that we can close the racial wealth gap with a smile.
Wow. I am, you say, how could you follow panels? How can I follow all of these panels? And it's just so refreshing to, kind of be old enough to have seen this transfer of technology and opening up these borders so that we can communicate in real time. And really the great thing about being here now and capturing this information is now we don't have to worry about having our libraries with books in them, and then a foreign force comes in and invades and burns all your books and destroys all your knowledge, and then you have to kind of go back to square one. This information is being permanently stored, folks. Our libraries are now virtual. This is huge to know that 1,000 years from now, someone or something could be listening to this episode of the Dean Talks. My name is Stephen King. I am your host for the Dean Talks, and we are moving along, very passionate conversation, and that's what we enjoy, very engaging conversation. Let's continue. So for teachers and school systems that think they are doing equity well, from your experience, Denisha, what solutions are working consistently, and how do we measure success? What should we bet on? Denisha?
Yeah, I think one is just to question everything, especially for teachers who are teaching in the traditional system. 90% of our children in the States, we're international, and so are educated in traditional public schools. And so it would be remiss of me not to, talk about, solutions within, but in the majority system, but to question everything. If a teacher is being told that you can't teach your class a certain way that is culturally responsive, is customizable, ask why. Like, why is this the case? And 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get a lame response like, oh, that's just not what we do. It's not in the curriculum. Challenge those small things. I don't, just swallow your tongue and say, okay, well, I'll navigate and teach it a different way. All the small things add up to bigger things. And, after a while, we're going to be creating a bunch of policy changers, because that's what I found is once people, unveil what's happening and start to question the system, they become really involved in policy changes and want to go to their state legislature, go to the local level, because school board elections are very important. They're the ones that's in control of the school districts and how things are run in local schools. And so those are things that when you start to question, you get to those steps and you understand that, okay, well, if I really want to change the trajectory of my student's life, I'm going to have to get involved with policy. But I think it really starts at that questioning everything level, you know, even from contracts to, we don't talk about contracts. We do focus, which is important because our kids cannot read. Only 15% of Black kids in this country are reading on grade level. But even outside of academics, you know, who are getting contracts for schools? Like, is it fair? You know, are other businesses besides the big brand businesses getting access to contracts within schools? So those are things that, you know, we question too. And then the rest on here within talking about is how do we basically ensure that schools of choice are held accountable. If I'm reading this, you know, correctly in depth, how do we ensure that, you know, charter schools and progressive curriculum have proven solutions on marginalized populations? And I think the number one, you know, it might not be as as glamorous as, you know, we shut their school down, but I think if parents like the product, they stay. If parents don't like the product, they leave. We see this freedom in every aspect of society. If we like restaurants, what do? We recommend it to somebody else. We say, "Oh, girl, you gotta go there. You gotta eat there. The food is so good." And if we stumble on a spot that's supposed to be good, like I just moved to a new area in Florida. There's a Jamaican spot, and I'm like, this is not Jamaican food. I don't know where they got these people, but this food is not good. And I tell the people, like, don't go there. That's not no real Jamaican food. Don't go there. And so I think that's the number one, you know, the power that parents have when they really are empowered. And that's how we ensure that schools are working. And then with, you know, private and charter schools, they do have more autonomy. They can create more learning environments that they see that's best fit for students' needs. And so they're very diverse in how they choose to do that. You have some schools that are nature-based that are literally outside 90% of the time, and they don't spend much time indoors. You have other schools that are science-based and math-based, and that's beautiful. You know, the difference between the two is charter schools do have they are public schools, and so they have a charter with the traditional public schools to implement their program. They do the same testing, and they are held accountable by the traditional public school system. Private schools, they don't have to report to traditional public schools or to the school district, to the school board. They have autonomy, and in many states, students who go to private schools are required to take the state assessment test, and to ensure that academic outcomes are adhered to.
Yes.
I think I got everything. It was
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Any other panel members want to chime in on what should we bet on? How do we measure success? And what solutions, from your experience, are consistently working?
I think I'm just gonna jump on the idea that Denisha has brilliantly developed about challenging the status quo. I can share maybe an experience because coming from a French island, which is very remote from where the political power is centralized, economic power is centralized, sometimes you can be perceived in a way that's not gonna give the whole picture, if I can put it that way. And sometimes people are gonna tell you exactly what you're saying, like, oh no, you cannot do that. You know, they do not have like all the tools that are necessary to develop themselves. Yeah, but according to who, first of all? Because we may have our own solutions, and maybe we have a different type of wealth that you may not have, and I can further develop that later on. But the whole thing is about capitalizing on that wealth that you have. For instance, for a very long time, I thought that being from an island, going like abroad, was something that I have to be like a bit like hiding while everyone was finding it was so cool and I had such a rich story. And I'm like, how can I like capitalize that and being able to infuse that locally? And I'll be at peace when there are going to be like more people who are going to be like me, even more fantastic and creating even greater stuff to make sure that the communities are empowered. And I think the way to measure success is to see how much the community is calling into question the space where they're living in, and they keep on being creative to be able to create policies that are going to correspond to each generation. Because from one generation to the other, the needs are different, and we are very connected globally today. So according to what's going on in the world, sometimes locally, many things can change, but that's more linked to economics. But that's something to really bear in mind. So that's my take on it.
Okay, so I was having technical difficulties. So can you just tell me what the question was again? I vaguely remember.
Absolutely, absolutely. What we're talking about now is, let me go back up to it here, okay. It's economics and, where is it? Okay, yeah, equity, measure success, okay. So how do we measure success, and what are your experiences with solutions and consistency in the school system? So what consistently works from your perspective? How is success measured? Ruby?
Oh my God, that is a loaded question. And so I was a school social worker. I was a special education teacher, and I was all of the things within public education. One of the things that really drives me nuts is assessments for all. There should be various ways for us to basically assess students. It shouldn't be a one size fit all. And if you do not like reach this, you are not like passing. I just heard that sister say that 15% of like African American students are reading at like grade levels. That is so dismal, right? And like, but what are their like successes, right? And so like, I have a daughter who I love dearly, and she has dyslexia really bad. And so what is it? Reading for her is like difficult, but the sister loves to read. But her comprehension is really high. But the state of Maryland says that a teacher cannot read the test, even though she needs it read to her because of certain like assessments, right? That is really problematic. And so she's going to be able to like read one day. It's just going to take her a little bit longer, but her like comprehension skills are like way above par. So like we need to look at different ways to basically assess students. Not just this one branding and this like one size fit all. And if you're not reaching that, you are not like successful. I beg to differ. There are many different levels of genius. And like we need to assess them all to really find success. African people, which I am, we love stories. We are really verbal and textile learners. How can we basically assess that and see our like genius within that? And so I feel that success has to, we really have to start with dismantling these stupid assessments. One for to be, what is it, standard, it really has to be customized. And I'm gonna get off my soapbox and just shut up now.
You hit on a lot of important things there, and what I got really was, how do we measure success outside of this kind of standardized testing? Now, are there scenarios where standardized testing is important? Absolutely. For example, if I want to learn how to operate on someone's heart, well, there's some pretty stringent standards involved in that. But if I'm creating artwork, for example, does that, just because I'm not a heart surgeon, does that degrade who I am? And I think where we are here is that we are kind of in a mindset where people are attaching to credentials, and people are attaching to that kind of traditional mode of education, which was, well, had been anyway. Now we're beginning to kind of break out of that now, and we're having these conversations about how is success measured. I know I wouldn't want to miss, if I own a business and I'm hiring someone, I wouldn't want to miss a perfect candidate simply because that standardized test score wasn't met. So I think what we have to do is, and this is a perfect forum for that, a perfect example for that, is to engage and begin the conversations. We don't know how those conversations are going to end, but we're going to have an excellent, thrilling journey as we and there is no end, actually. It's a with education, it's a journey, not a destination.
And the wonderful thing, right? My daughter, she's so dope. Homegirl loves her Alexa. Alexa is like her best friend. She reads with her, write with her, do math with her. That's a high level of intelligence. She uses, Alexa, to basically help her read, help her write, help her do math. My son will never do that. But my daughter figures out ways around her disability. And that just ingenuity, that's just genius level. I think that's, and to just say that because she can't read like everybody else, she's not a genius, is really minimizing her light. And so many African American students, light has been minimized because of the structure of racism that basically lives within the system, that also creates assessment that really served one population versus another. And that is, I'm gonna just stop because I could really go on about this foolishness, but it's sad. It really does hurt me.
I think that what you said, Ruby, is, and we'll be moving into an economic question next, but what you said really resonates with me, because what you brought up was, my daughter is using Alexa, okay? And so that brings up artificial intelligence, folks. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. People are running from it. People think about, Terminator and the machines taking over and disposing of the humans and all of these. But the bottom line is, AI is here. And how has AI changed the scope of learning? Okay, because of technology, more people have access. And now we have AI there. So the question becomes, how do we use AI and not become intellectually lazy? Right? So it's just, these are all just interesting dynamics. Our job here at Right Food is to bring all of these different topics to the surface and engage in conversation. That's what we're doing. Ruby, your mic is still open. Do you have something else?
Yeah, so AI, artificial intelligence, right? First, we cannot be afraid of it. We need to hit it head on. We need to also engage with it because AI is racist. Until we get more diverse people working on it, it's going to continuously be racist and be like oppressive. And so like we need our brilliant minds to like begin to create AI, which like there are some, but like we need so many more. And like it cannot dumb us down because like it still needs us for like prompts. And so like the better your prompts, the better your like experience. And so like you still have to do work. You still have, it's just not going to be an automatic thing, prayerfully never. But like we have to get into it and really begin to innovate it and like help it to be less racist than like what it is today.
I agree, and I think I heard a teacher. She was speaking about this, and she uses AI, and she invites her students to use AI in her classroom, and she was, she said at first she was combating it. Her kids. She asked them to go home and write an essay. She knows they use ChatGPT to write the essay, and she was getting frustrated. And she said that she changed her approach. She then changed her assignment to go home, use ChatGPT to write an essay. When we get in class, we're going to critique it and say how we could have done it better. And so I think we just have to, change our approach with AI instead of thinking like, oh, it's going to dumb us down. We're not, it is still a robot. It's just Google on hyperdrive. We have Google at our fingertips and we still don't use it, to learn as much as we can. We had the dictionary and thesauruses to learn as much as we can, and nobody used those things either. Kids were I was forced, I had thesaurus in grade school, forced to go home and use those things, and I didn't voluntarily pick up the thesaurus and learn all that I could. I could have, but I didn't. And so I think with any modern innovation, to learning, we're always going to have so much knowledge at our fingertips, and there are going to be those that don't use it, we all, to its capabilities. But like Ruby is saying, like we can't just avoid it. We can't say it's scary, especially Black and brown kids. I really think Black and brown kids should be more encouraged to use AI and develop solutions, to just go and create a business plan. Oh, you want sneakers? Like go and create a business plan on how you want to do video games the rest of your life. What does that even look like? Just putting in little things so that they're, the landscape and the hope and the vision of what the world looks like can just be brought to them, instead of, don't use this, it's cheating. We did that with computers and with Wikipedia, and now we can cite Wikipedia. And so I think we can learn from history on things that we've done as a society, saying that, oh, this is cheating, oh, this is somehow an advantage and you have to use your own brain. I think we should embrace it and just allow for kids to use it and be creative with it, because it can be really cool.
Okay, I'm going to I talk to everyone all the time, right? And
I was to jump on
who is?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
I just wanted to jump on what has been
absolutely.
Yeah, on what has been said. Of course, I can agree with Danisha and Ruby. It's definitely a tool for empowerment, but I also believe that it's an invitation as well to be able to use human skills, if I can put it that way, that AI cannot replace. I mean, the heart of Danisha and the heart of Ruby cannot be replaced. You can copy it, but it's never going to be as authentic. And I also believe that, yes, it's a source of empowerment to create business, to create, pave a way, at least for generational wealth, et cetera, but also it invites, I think, all of us as human beings to focus on other type of developments, such as like wellness development. And I know that especially for Black communities, I'm not quite familiar with the one in the United States, but I know that in France, we have a specific wellness area that we can focus on and that can be used to develop as well ourselves as human beings and being able to practice the values that have been given by our ancestors into a modern life. So I think that AI is generating time also to make sure that we can focus on that. So that's just one thing I wanted to add.
I love it, and I agree.
Yes.
Awesome point. Awesome point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you literally said what I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Connection.
So the synergy in the DEIN talks is real. The synergy is real. And as I was going to say, because I don't mind, throwing reality into this conversation for feedback. So young people that I've talked to, and we walk around with their phones, I said, so what stops you from going home and doing your homework assignment on Google? They said nothing. So now what it does is there's got to almost be a artificial intelligence ethics that's taught along with it. So the great thing about AI certainly is you can take all this information, you can pull it all together and sift through it. And that may help with a medical diagnosis, but at the end of the day, what that AI can also help do is generate a 3D image of your heart, literally, so that the surgeons can see what's going on prior to them going in and do better preparations. So I think that's where we are. AI is not going away. We all know that. It's how do we teach these folks to use it and preserve that their own morality. Okay, Ruby, I see you. I see you off mute there.
No. I am processing that, right? What came to mind was calculus, right? When I was in high school, we had the formulas. If you knew the formulas, you would have the scientific calculator. You would put it in, it gives you the answer, right? That's the way that I'm looking at AI, right? Nobody said you couldn't use that calculator. You just had to have one. You couldn't have the regular one. You needed the scientific calculator to basically calculate calculus formulas to get the get the answer faster. You still have to have knowledge, right? AI is not going to deplete us from our God-given consciousness that we're still going to need. And so the calculator helped us. We still needed information. And so I don't think that it is going to minimize. I really loved what the sister said about giving us more time to basically rest, to basically heal, to basically enjoy life. And so AI, I'm excited, not for what it's going to do, but how much healing that can take place because of the time it's going to give us. So that's all I have to say.
All right.
And I mean, healing in the Black and Brown communities is really, really needed. Even to think about long-term solutions, even when we think about financial aspects. I think when you're good with yourself and you were able to heal all these traumas, that gives you a difficult relationship, with money and everything. It can definitely help you move forward and go into another realm. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's opening the door for another thing, but
Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome, sister. You're welcome.
Excellent, excellent conversation. You are listening to the Dean Talks. My name is Stephen King. I am the host. Dean Talks is a presentation of the Ripe Fruit Foundation, and we are continuing this engaging conversation. And in the background, I'm watching this chat go on. So there's stuff going on as the folks who are listening and the panelists are jumping in the chat and going back and forth. So there's multiple layers to this conversation that you can't see. So keep that in mind. That leans into how we communicate and how complex our communication is, everything from body language to our tone, etc. Okay, let's move along to the big money question, literally. These solutions cost for someone coming from that lens who is seeing amazing success and reception. Ruby, what do teachers, advocates, and the community as a whole need to know or do to actually fund these innovative solutions and become more money conscious?
Okay. We need to get corporations and small businesses involved, right? The government is not going to be able to do it alone, but they can give corporations benefits by basically helping out the public schools instead of tax-like benefits that basically help them become bigger, right? Why don't we do a win-win, right? Corporations, smaller businesses, and a smaller business is like a business that could be making millions. There should be a requirement for them to give back to public, charter, and private schools. They should have for the whole, equity piece. Black and brown schools should get more because of the inequities of what our past and the present, because it's just not the past, right? And so then if we basically have that, money is not going to be the problem, right? They can say money is the problem, but you can't say money is a problem when you are sending billions to, Israel, Ukraine. Money is not the problem. Where you want to put it is. And so if we have a fully funded educational system, that's going to be a problem for the 1% because they want us dumbed down. They really do. And so we have to advocate for corporations to give more money and just not products. Products are great, but money can do so much more. So that's what I say.
I'm resonating. Really, you're absolutely correct. It's one thing to sell products to the community as a company, and it's another thing to invest in the community. Those are two separate things. And I'm really glad that you brought that forward, because these are talking points that we can use as advocates to move forward when we approach companies, when we're seeking funding or just seeking to increase their community awareness and their community involvement.
And the government has recently made changes to this policy where big banks have to give more financially to the communities. If not, they are going to be penalized. And so the financial institution has already been like given a push under the Biden administration within the past year. And so I'm excited to see like what that's going to look like in the near future.
Jamila?
Yeah, I mean, investment in the community is always very, very important. And I also like the fact that she emphasized the idea of cooperation, because it's definitely needed. And here I'll have to like zoom out a little bit and go to the more islander perspective, because when you're an island, you're basically on your own in the middle of the ocean. And it means as well that you do not have access to all the resources that's available as easily as when you're living on a continent. And I think it's very important to be able to convince the funders for the projects to understand that if you do this, it's about investing into the community, and then it's going to give back something. But sometimes it's not even that expensive, actually. I'm thinking about a project that we've made where when you're born on that island, usually you have to go study abroad for higher education because there's no universities on the island. Yet what happens usually is that you're having brains that are living and that are not coming back. So it's not reinvested into the island, and then people just never come back. So we had to offer another solution, which was about building a bachelor and a master's degree in social economy specifically, where you will have the students that will go, but then they will have to come back to make like internships and find a job into the organizations. That was like one condition. And that was like a corporation, for instance, that has worked. And it didn't cost that much money, actually, compared to like other tools that were already existing, which were not reinvesting back into the community, but actually creating more diffusion outside of the island. So I would say that creating a win-win situation in theory would be great, but like on the ground, it's not always that easy. And I think it's important to understand the interest of each party, because I'm not quite aware of how it is in the US, but I know that in France, it's really about understanding what these people want. And it doesn't matter, they're not caring about what you want, at least not always. It's what do they want, and can I give it to them? If I can give it to them, how can I be able to give it to them on my own terms? And that comes back to the question of
handsome.
So that's just one thing that I wanted to add on top of that.
Excellent additions. Excellent additions. Denisha?
Sorry, I had to get my computer charger, end up seeing my son, which added, like, okay, love you. Okay, gotta go. So I would say I've just come to this, so forgive me, it's not flushed out. I was at a conference recently, and we were having this conversation around, getting monies from foundations, getting grants, and how our programs are not the most funded, and how do we get their monies? How do we get their money, they money, they money? And, we were having like a sidebar conversation, and we were just like, why do we have to get their money? Like, why can't we build wealth and build, assets ourselves, and then be able to fund our projects and programs? Now that's long term. And so that really goes to the financial folks on the call. Like, we were talking about, because it's, we're in the realm of like running schools, people founding schools and imparting in kids' lives. And one of the great things that's happening is we are controlling the narrative in our schools, and many people are teaching their kids, go to college, go get occupations. And most of the time, our kids are first generation, college students. They're the first in their families to do X, Y, Z all the time. And so they're following their passions, they're following their interests, which is amazing, and it's not necessarily them following things that's going to create community wealth where they are going to go back and be able to give like no one else to their communities, to the the things that change their lives. And we lean so heavily on the celebrities and the folks who got out and are making billions and millions of dollars, but they're still like really, really small. And so I think that this is new. But in my opinion now, it's like, yes, we need big foundation dollars. Yeah, but we also should be teaching our kids to go out and create, major, and be in those pathways that are going to generate wealth for them, and then so that they can give back also and create their own foundations, because that's what a lot of folks have done. The Walton Family Foundation, everyone who works in education is trying to get some Walton grants. And it's like, well, let's create the next Walton. Let's create the next Zuckerberg Foundation. Like, there's nothing stopping us from doing that. And um I yeah, I think, yeah, it's just a thought. But yeah.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead, Ruby. I'll just add later.
no, I'll be quick. I totally agree. And one of the things that is like stopping us is predatory lending. And so the church, the Black church, used to be the foundation that gave us scholarships, colleges, but now most of them are like in some horrible loans that basically they can't even pay for. And so that resource we used to have, we don't have it anymore like we once did. Not only like systemically, but also we want to go bigger and bigger and bigger instead of like giving the money to basically build the community. We don't need to go bigger and bigger and bigger. We need to go stronger and stronger and like stronger. And so building like foundations, just like you said, would be way better than like another big church. Just my 2 cents. And so predatory lending, it has killed our community and still is.
I think also there is like a change about values that needs to be changed and make it cool to be in your community, because you were mentioning, Denisha, about celebrities and everything, and what we see on social media and stuff is not necessarily reflecting what is the reality. And I think soon, and I hope, to be normal is going to be cool. And to be a good person is going to be cool, like, and it's not going to be something like, oh my God, she's so lame. Like, she wants to contribute, to the community and try and change things. Who does she think she is? Blah, 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 and stuff. No, it's actually really cool. And that's what we're supposed to do as human beings. At least that's my take on it. So I think there's also about changing a value and changing culture to be able to reinvest that into the communities and generate wealth. And it's going to be a type of wealth where you're not necessarily going to need billions, actually. And maybe not everyone has to be really rich. And that question is also, why do we have to be billionaires? Some of them are billionaires. They're not even reinvesting into the communities. What money is for? These questions are also on the table. But I know it's very complex and there are different layers. But yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's when we open this show, the Dean Talks, you are the deans, you are the superheroes. And with great power comes great responsibility. And that quote came from Spider-Man movie. All right. Okay, we are going to continue. And we know, once again, my name is Stephen King. I'm the host here of the Dean Talks, engaging conversation If you want to keep up with us, then you can visit ripefruit.org. But in the meantime, we are continuing this session. Organizations are making, quote, equity moves, unquote, which puts people in new opportunities, sometimes without the proper support. That can look like failing out of school, self-abandonment, or from some perspectives, community abandonment. If we were writing a survivor's guide, how can we better prepare young learners? It's open to the panel.
First, you have to know your history, right? You can't move forward without fully knowing where you and your family came from. So that's the base, right? Then after that, right, because you know where you have come from, now like the second base is how are you going to give back, right? We have to we are not a selfish people. We have to give back. Know your history, give back to yourself first so that you can give back to your family, community, and your country, right? But like we have to have that base. Without that base, we don't have a consciousness. Without that consciousness, we have no self-esteem, we have no self-worth. And so like everything we do is going to be traumatic because like we don't have that self-worth to basically guide us because of the lack of knowing our history. That is vital. And I'm not talking about slavery, right? Slavery was like a part of our history, but like we began before slavery. And so we really have to educate our children about like where they have, where we have come from so that we can understand where we will be going.
Absolutely. Panelists?
I think I'd like to talk about culture, and I think that's quite linked to what Ruby was talking about, but it's also about understanding your culture, your history, of course, but also the social, even the social culture that you grew up in, you know, because there are certain things in your culture that are being valued, but it's not necessarily what the dominant culture is valuing, you know, and it's really important to understand that, to also see how you can move into the world without losing yourself, you know, without betraying your culture and saying, oh, now because I would like to participate to the dominant culture because that's where the power is, then I have to leave my culture. The idea is to really understand both and being able to navigate with both of these cultures in the different worlds. And that's where you're going to create more connections. You're going to be able to be more creative because you can see things that other people don't, you know? Even myself, I'm also limited in certain areas, but at times I'm like, oh, thanks to all these experiences and thanks to all these cultures, I'm able to navigate into the dominant culture with like new lenses. Each time I meet a new person, I understand them very differently. It creates much more compassion. And the more I grow, the more compassion I try to lean into, thanks to these cultures, because each culture has like very, very positive values and not everything has to be taken to the trash, really. That's one thing. Then there is about making education accessible and also not thinking that you don't know anything, because based on the culture that you have, you know a lot. It's just that it's not part of the dominant culture. And the idea is, how can you translate that so it can have a flavor that's going to be great for the dominant culture? And then they can say, oh, I've never seen things this way. How can you know that? And then you're able to open up something for your culture and being able to share it. That's a second take, I would say, about that. And also that's more of a spiritual thing, but it's to really reconnect spiritually to who you are. Doesn't matter which God you praise. That doesn't really matter. I'm not talking about that. I'm really asking to connect to what is true to you and bringing that integrity into the world. And it doesn't matter what is going to happen, because some people are going to really be really mean and it's going to be really tough. But still, you're standing your ground, and that's going to give you character. And if you have character, that's going to be really amazing for the world, because people are going to say, maybe I don't like her, or maybe I like her, but at least she knows who she is. And that's what you get. And that's it.
A survivor's guide is what we're writing. Okay. A survivor's guide for young people.
Yeah, I definitely would have to agree, because I think that it does go back to like who you are and just being sure on those core values of who each and every person is and who your community is. Because it is easy if you're and I was talking about, grants and foundations. If you are applying to a specific company as the, diversity hire, or as you're running some type of program, or you're getting monies to do a special niche thing, you might lose yourself in that. You might, but you have to remain true to who you are and know why you're doing the things that you're doing, and stay true to that, because monies come and go, organizations come and go, but people and community stays. And so I think that you really have to be grounded, like our other two panelists, our other two deans, are saying, really be grounded in who you are, because you can lose sight of that. And there's another prompt in there, even with the absence of affirmative action, it is in the absence of judgment. Any advice to students of color? And on that, I would say, we wrap our identity so much in being Black, being of color, that then we forget about all of the other aspects of what makes an individual that person. And so if you are just going into a college or university on the sole basis, oh, I'm Black, like what is that? There are hundreds, thousands of Black, people that's qualified to get into this college. What makes you special? And yes, that's your color, but we are fighting against people looking at us and judging us solely based on our color. So we can't then judge ourselves solely based on our color. We have to look at ourselves as a whole rounded individual and think about what makes us valuable, what makes us unique. What do you actually bring to the table? Your culture is, yes, that's one that's amazing, but there are other people who bring culture as well. So what makes you special? And I think that the fact that affirmative action is not there has got a lot of people thinking about, and a lot of organizations are now ending after the wake of George Floyd. They're now ending their, equity moves. They're ending their equity funding programs and their pilot programs. Those funding mechanisms are now decreasing. And so how do we stay relevant? And it has to go beyond just being Black. And it has to be deeper than that. We bring so much more to the table. And so I think that we have to have those conversations with our students, so that they can see themselves as rich as they are, and not just be idolizing the color of their skin.
Mm. That was powerful.
Yeah.
That
Thank
was
you so much.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yes, because idolizing anything outside of God is a mistake. Whether you believe or not, that's my personal belief. You can do whatever you want, and I'm okay with it. I still love you, but yeah, we can't like idolize our color, which is a massive mistake. Totally agree. And like we are valuable people. We have so much to bring, and we are diverse. We are not a monolithic people. We have different values. We have different we have different cultures. We have different languages, which is so super dope. So yeah, we really have to build upon who our family is, who our community is, and like how are we going to like contribute to it, not just for ourselves, but like for the greater good. And yeah, totally. This is some good stuff.
That it is good stuff at the Dean Talks. And we're, interestingly enough, what you may be experiencing is what you consider silence, after some comments. But for us, after these comments, we have to think, people. We have to take time to think. And this is thought provoking. So that's where we are, and I certainly appreciate all of the weigh-ins so far today. What I would like to do is try to get a quick test here. I'm just trying to keep track of time here, and again, a lot of stuff's going on behind the scenes, but I want to try to get a test case out to the panel for your input, and I'm going to read this test case and then just open it up for quick responses as we head towards our bottom of the hour. Jeanette's 7-year-old daughter, Donnie, is more interpersonally advanced than most adults she knows. But in school, she isn't doing so well. In the 2nd grade, she's had conflicts with teachers, focused only on making friends, and didn't test well. How can Jeanette help her daughter? Should they just start over at another school? Panel?
It depends, right? Starting over at another school may work, but maybe finding out what that child, because I see this a lot, especially within the public schools, especially with Black girls, right? And I like challenge the system every time. Because some, not all, I will not speak for a whole, they don't give them grace. And so because they are more vocal, they are being rude. No, they just have an opinion, they have a strong one. But like I can see somebody else from a like different like community do the same thing and like they get grace. I had to check myself, right? When I was a teacher, we do not give Black girls grace. And so like maybe the mother she needs to advocate and push back on like the stereotypes that has been given to her daughter and try to help them look at her in the light she really, really is. If she's great within people, we need to like uplift that and like find ways for her to like connect within that school, community. We need to give Black girls grace instead of jumping like on them as like being rude and like and disrespectful. I have to check myself about that all the time. And I'm a Black woman. If it was somebody else, how would I like how would I like address them? And so I always question myself so that like I can make sure that people know we are all struggling to be equal, to be equitable. I don't care whether you are Black and or white. So it depends.
Yeah, that's good. I like the answer. My first initial like, yeah, get that kid out of that school, leave, go to a different school. But I like your answer because it is, and it challenges us to, yeah, and understand our own biases. And then because we do the same thing too. And I definitely was this student. Like, I don't know, and it is like Dana, oh no, that's the mama's name, but that was this student. I was like sassy mouth adult, it was all the same. And but what did work for me is going to different schools. But I do agree with your answer. But my first initial thought was, I think you should go to a different school.
I think I'm gonna lean more like Ruby. My first thought was more about like challenge the status quo. You know, and what you're talking about Black girls is often sadly true. And I believe also there is like an opportunity in that test case to maybe create a local solution, you know, because I don't know in the test case if like there's like a network of other schools that's being talked about, but maybe there are other girls who are the same, you know, and then maybe there's like a connection there. You were talking about cooperation that could be created, you know, and being able to call into question the system and say, hey, she's not the only one. There are other people. Is there something into the system that's not working? How can we make it work? You know, but again, it is important to measure the amount of energy that it's going to take, because sometimes it can be really tiring. So if it's worth it, go for it. If not, just change schools.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for just commenting on that case study. I just wanted to try to squeeze that in there. And now what I would like to do is kind of move through the panel and just quickly ask you, what are you working on? And you can provide some of your contact information, because remember, this is going to be here for eternity, in theory anyway. So Denisha, what are you working on?
So recently, we just launched the McLeod Society Fellowship, so named after Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. She started at first, before there was Bethune-Cookman University, which is an HBCU in Daytona Beach, Florida. She started a private all-girls technical school, and she wanted this private school to educate young women on, you know, technical skills. They were baking, kind of homestead type things. She couldn't keep her school open, and she actually solicited monies from from Booker T. Washington, Julius Rosenwald, the president, and she couldn't keep her private school open. She transitioned to the university model. But we launched a fellowship of Black school founders. We are in our first year, our inaugural cohort. We have 13 fellows across the country of people who founded schools. And it's just such a breath of fresh air, I must say, to just be in a room with so many entrepreneurs and people doing great things. And many of them came from the public school sector. They were former traditional public school teachers. They're all different types of people: charter school, private school, micro, virtual. And it's so cool to just see that their heart is really to help kids. And like, some of them are struggling, you know, to keep their schools open. Some of them are doing very well for themselves, have over 900 kids, and are looking at ways to expand. But they all come from this like for us, by us type of mindset. This like, we need to take ownership over our community's education and provide it ourselves for our kids. And I just am like a big hype person with a megaphone. I am not a school founder. I just like brag on them all the time. People think that, oh, so you didn't know I am a poser. I've not done it. But I just love to just spotlight and talk about them, because I believe that they're just, you know, a nod at history. It was talking about history earlier, because we had these one-room schoolhouses We had the Black teachers, we were teaching our own community, and those dwindled away. And so to see this resurgence come back just like gives me so much life and so much joy.
And Denisha has blackmindsmatter.net. Blackmindsmatter.net is a way to reach out to continue your conversation with her. Ruby, what do you have going on?
All right. What do I have going on? A lot, but I'm going to stay focused. We have a generational wealth pledge going on, and we are like asking Black and Brown families and our like allies to like sign the pledge to say that you will build generational wealth for the next generations with an S. What you will get is every single week we will send you a tip about building generational wealth. It could be a video, it could be a blog, it could be an infographic. And then we also do monthly seminars. We bring on amazing people. Tomorrow we will have Dr. Charmaine Jackman. She is a Harvard trained psychologist, and she will be talking about financial trauma and how to heal from it so that we can build generational wealth. We do like partnerships with a lot of corporations because that's my way of like getting reparations. Oh, let's see what else. We just did the Wells Fargo PGA Championship. That was super dope. We will be in Los Angeles in August with the Crete Academy, and in September we will be at the HBCU Battle of the Bands, educating our people about what? Financial education, and I'm building generational wealth. So the main thing is our generational wealth pledge, which is free, and our seminars, which are free. It's called the Power Hour because we make it powerful. And you can check us out at financialjoyschool.com. That is financialjoyschool.com. Thank you.
I have a question. How do I get that shirt, the Future Millionaire shirt?
Oh, you give me a week and I'll get you one. I'll get you one. No, like we are gonna start selling it. I keep on saying that we're gonna start selling it. We have never officially did it, but there's a company that like we will be partnering with to like get those shirts to get those shirts out. You were supposed to help me. You like I'm saw me struggling. You're supposed to say that word so that I could move on. But yes. So once it goes on sale, I'm going to reach out to you. So that's what we have going on. And I have a book called The Unconventional CEO, How to Build Wealth and Joy in the Midst of Adversity. That's another thing that we just released in December. So check us out, Financial Joy School, and spread the word and come to our seminar. Next month, we're going to have C.D. Moody. Him and his wife, they do construction. They like help build massive buildings. And they are like almost $1 billion company, a super dope Black couple. So I'm excited to like have him on. I'm going to shut up now because I just did say that I was going to focus, but I really was not.
Excellent. Once again, that is financialjoyschool.com for more from Ruby Taylor. Jamila, what's going on in your world?
Whoa, I'm just like Ruby. I like to keep myself very busy. Well, and I have two ways of working because I'm also a yoga teacher and I have all my work in social economy. So basically, in social economy, it's about keeping on connecting French islands with like international opportunities, because I work a lot in building corporations. And right now we are working at building a network of incubators in the Indian Ocean and also in the Atlantic Ocean with the Caribbean islands, to make sure that there are cooperatives, foundations that are working all together in various fields. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I will be in Paris in 2 weeks or so to be able to participate to the Congress, where we'll
If
be
you
able
need
to...
help, let me know. I can like come out and
Yeah,
like support you. You let me know.
very happy to have you girls on board. Yes, very happy. And I will be in Paris. So it's basically to participate to a Congress on social economy and being able to share the story and the expertise as well of doing social economy and developing local solutions in French islands. So that's what I'm working on. And also there's like a project where I am a member, which is called Women of Future in Mayotte, which is about supporting women developing their own cooperatives. And then on the side of yoga, I'm recently focusing on working with pregnant women to make sure that they have access to wellness tools at very affordable prices. And also, but that's going to be when I'll come back, working with children from very remote areas to make sure that they have also access to wellness for free. That's what I'm trying to do and trying to have that funded. So I'm starting small, but we're building, and hopefully things are going to grow. And I do not have a website yet, but you can contact with me through email or my socials.
All right. And this has just been an illustrious panel. You can visit rightproof.org to find copies of not only this Dean Talks, but past Dean Talks. And if you forget emails, you can just give us a call, give me a call, and I'll be happy to hook you right on up. We are going to jump to Ebony Kinney now. Ebony, big hits and takeaways for today's show.
Okay. Just so humbled to be in the presence of this panel and this live conversation. You all are power packed. This is just a testament to the community work you all talked about so much. Talk about divine intervention. I'm not worthy to have brought this panel together, but I'm happy that I was able to be in here with you guys. So I want to acknowledge the people who stayed, because I know we're just about a few minutes over.
You are more than worthy to have brought this panel together. I'm not letting that slip. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, let's get the words right. You're right. But I'm grateful and I'm humble, and I realize it's not me, right? There's something greater happening.
Yes.
So I'm just a piece of this. So so many great big quotes, but the biggest that stand out to me, someone said, "Excuse me, but no." And I said, if there was a new name for this talk, that's what it would be. But we talked about not just getting bigger and bigger and bigger grants, but getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Let the solutions be a win-win, corporations and small businesses. Identify what we can't be replaced by computers. And we're not talking enough about that, the heart and the passion of the work. And how look at yourself holistically, not just your color. What are your strong points? They talk about strength-based learning. We've done a lot of talks on that. Feel free to go back and look. So some of the work that we've been working on, and I can't wait to pull out a lot of other great snippets that came from here, but some of the work that we're doing that aligns has to do with a game that challenges standardized testing. So we have one that is sort of measuring audible comprehension and kind of advocating for that to be a part of the standardized testing. Students that are able to know beats and they can rap and sing directly on beat. That's a strength that we don't recognize in our standardized testing. So that's one thing we're working on. We have a scholarship that's about bringing your community, the families and the aunties, bringing a direct funding together to help with, maybe it's just books, maybe it's, something, but it says support and it says we're behind you. And then what we have coming up is June 1st, a virtual co-work the block. It's co-working or body doubling, if you know the term. And Neuro and Nitro is in person, and that's when we get together with the neurodiverse group from our meetup channel. Shout out to all of the meetup folks that are here, that have come by or who watch this into history. I'll put a link in the chat. Thank you all so much. Mwah. All right, turn it back over.
Thank you very much, Ebony Kinney. Thank you, panel, for joining us on this Dean Talks. Thank you, supporters, for listening. Make sure you visit ripefruit.org to continue this conversation, and stay tuned for next month's Dean Talks. My name is Stephen King. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, panel. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you, participants. Have a wonderful day and a happy Memorial Day here in the United States. I'm not sure what's happening over there in France, but here it's a holiday weekend. So we are
Happy
we're
celebration,
Ed. Okay, thank you. All right, very good. Thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you again next month at the Dean Talks.